Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Juan Cristales here, man. We are at the framing portion of this duplex that we're building ground up, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the next steps, a few of the steps that we're having to deal with right now that we're going through, and some inspections that we have. And then the second thing I want to talk about is hiring contractors, because I think that a lot of people who are trying to get into the new construction business don't understand the process and how that all works. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so I've gone ahead here and just written out a few steps for you guys to quickly just take a look at. Very simply, I think that a lot of people have done fix and flips. Many of you guys who are watching this have probably already done fix and flips in the past and already know how to do some of these things. But backing up to the time whenever I first started new construction, this framing portion was part of the stuff that I didn't know very much about, and it seemed a little bit intimidating. The thing is, finding the right people, finding the right contractors, which is guys who do new construction on a regular basis, okay? So step number one, we're talking about walls and sheathing. When these guys are first starting, what they're going to do, and you don't need to know this per se, but this is just a process, okay? I'm just explaining to you how it all works. They're going to be doing all the walls, all the interior walls, the kitchen where the pantry doors are, or the pantry area is going to be, the bathrooms, the bedrooms, the closets. They're going to just frame all that out according to the blueprints that have already been stamped by the city. The city's already looked at them and approved them, and they're just going to go off of that to do this, particular plan. So once that's completed, then they'll move on to the roof framing. The roof framing is just all this other stuff that you see here at the very top. And as you can see here, they just leave the 2x4s kind of there hanging. Now, this is the next step here, which is going to be the cornice and the fascia. Now, the cornice and fascia is this part here. This is the third step here. All these little pieces of wood that you have here, and these 2x4s that are right there. That is the next step before you can do the roofing. Now, do you need to know that per se? No, you don't need to know that per se. Your job is to be the coach over the entire, you're the head coach over the entire team, okay? You don't need to know what the punter, the wide receiver, like their specific jobs and roles and stuff like that. You have to have a basic idea of what they're doing, but you don't need to get into all the details. I'm just trying to explain to you kind of a little bit of the process. Now, they're going to be doing all this other stuff here, and then we'll do the windows and the thermal barrier, which the roofing doesn't really impact either one of those, so those can be interchangeable. Now, check this out. Hiring contractors. In another video, I was talking about the amount of money that the two largest home builders took home net in 2024. The amount was $17.2 billion. And they were building in all the United States, right? All 50 states. I'm not sure if they went to Alaska, whatever. Not my business. The point I'm trying to make is that if these guys have mastered, they've truly mastered replicating new construction, regardless of the state, regardless of the city, regardless of the jurisdiction, the inspections, the inspectors, and all that stuff, and they've figured out a way to just mass scale this entire business of building new construction, then you can figure out how to do one or two or three of these in 1 year. It really is not that hard. I promise you. Again, I wish I would have started in new construction when I started doing fix and flips, but I didn't. I went somewhere else and got my teeth kicked in a few times. Okay, so we're moving on. I just want to show you a little bit of the inside of what's happening here. As you can see, the plumber is putting in his PEX pipes, and then the white pipes are going to be the vents. Remember, the vents are allowing air to go up into the attic so that the wastewater can leave. The wastewater is not a mechanical system, and all that means is that there's no like machinery that forces the sink water or the dishwasher or the tub or the toilet or any of those things to actually go down. What it does is just allows air to go up so that the wastewater can go out. Okay, so that's why you have these white pipes here. So these guys are putting in the Tyvek. This is the house wrap. This is thermal barrier. And all that means is that it wicks water away from the house. So wicks water out so that way the inside stays dry. And then, of course, you can see here they're doing all of the cornice. Inside of the house, we get this Tech Shield stuff. Now, this is not mandatory in all places. Some places do require it, depending on what code that they have. We do it for all of ours because it's just easier. We don't have to think about it as like which, are they going to want that for the inspection? They're gonna. We don't care, so we just go ahead and just do it. The price difference is not that much. We just go ahead and provide it, and it also helps with the appraisal. It also helps with the inspection. It always helps with everything else. Okay, and all it is a half-inch plywood, OSB plywood, that has this aluminum little film on it. It's supposed to help with the heat and the heat transfer and all the other stuff. So, trying to keep the attic cool, make the house more efficient. The other thing I wanted to point out here, again, you don't need to be the expert on this, but this is part of the building process. We have a firewall right here, and so all that means is that over here on this side, this is unit A, and then I'm standing in unit B. And so this 2x6 wall here is a fire rated wall. And so this plywood there has to be treated with a special chemical. It's just, we call it red plywood. Everybody knows it's like a fire rated. I don't know the technical name for it, but we have to get some sheets so that way all the way across the entire firewall, we have this specialty plywood up top over it just to prevent any potential fire to go over to the other side. That's the purpose of it. Again, I don't need to be the expert in this stuff. I just know that it has to be that particular thing. It's all part of the material takeoff. It just shows up. The framers know where it needs to go because that's their expertise. They've been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years. They know this stuff, especially working inside the city limits. That's an inspectionable item. Okay, so now here I just took a few more pictures to kind of show you the cornice that was being built out. You can see the 2x4 here and all little small pieces of 2x4 to kind of hold it up. And the purpose of this little framing piece is so that when you put the soffit, which is the part that goes on the bottom, it has somewhere that you can nail it to. And then the fascia, which is the stuff that goes on the side here, you have somewhere to nail it to. So the fascia needs to be put on before the roofers can actually do their portion. So these guys here are part of the framing crew, and this is part of the responsibility, or we negotiate in the contract that as part of the framing package, they're also going to do the roof decking. You can ask the roofers to do their own decking, or you can just ask the framers to do it. It doesn't matter. Tomato, it's not that big of a deal. So here's another kind of quick little view of the cornice, which is this little section here. And then some of the windows. Now, again, this is part of the framer's expertise. They're the ones putting in these windows in, so they know that on the back side of these windows, there needs to be caulking, window caulking there. Needs to be put up, and then there's another little piece of flashing that goes above the windows before they put the siding on. That's an inspectionable item. So the Tyvek home wrap is one thing, and then the window flashing and the caulking and all this stuff, that's the other portion of what needs to happen. They're the ones who know that stuff. So if they fail that inspection, they're the ones who have to basically redo the inspection, take off all the windows and do them again. So make sure that whenever you're hiring these guys, they understand that. So like I was talking about earlier, if companies, big companies have figured out how to do new construction all over the country, you can figure out how to do 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or however many of these you want to do in your own little small jurisdiction. It's really not that complicated. I'm telling you guys, this really isn't. It seems a little bit daunting, but man, we're just supervising, quite frankly. I show up, take a few pictures, talk to the guys, talk to the main guy, say, hey man, what do you need? Do you need material? Is there something that's missing? What can we help you with? Is everything okay? And the guy's a solid guy. He's passed a lot of inspections in the past, so he's usually pretty chill about everything. So your job is, you're the coach, you're the head coach, organizing this entire thing, making sure that he's happy, they're getting paid. We're trying to build for a reasonable amount of money so that we can make a profit on the sale or just have some equity capture on this stuff. But I'm telling you that for them, moving quickly is very, very efficient because they make more money. So think about it like this. If they're going to get paid approximately, I'm just going to throw out a number out there, okay? Let's say they get paid $15,000 to frame out this entire structure, okay? $15,000. Now, for the main guy and maybe his assistant or whatever, for them to make money, they want this thing to be built out as soon as possible because the more it delays, the more money they have to pay to all the workers that are showing up every single day. And so it's important that they also are aligned with a quick build. You see, a lot of people um, they, they go to contractors who give them the price. They're like, "Hey, man, I want you to bid me out, whatever." What we do is we assign a price. We're like, "Hey, man, this is what we can pay. I need this thing to be built relatively quickly and pass an inspection." So when you set the price, and that's what the big builders do, they set the price, and you have to find contractors who understand, one, they have to pass the inspections, and number two, they have to build it in a manner that's, they're actually making some money. So that means there has to be some level of speed. So you're driving the cost. I think that a lot of fix and flip people, they have it reversed where you're like, hey, I'm going to get a bid from this contractor, I'm going to get a bid from this contractor, I'm going to get a bid from all these contractors and try to figure it out. So what we do that's a little bit different that I think the big builders are also doing is they're just going based off of a percentage of what they're trying to build for. So say for example, the framing thing is going to take about 12 to 15%. So that's your window. You want to be within that little margin. If you can be within that little margin, then you can have your entire project be profitable. And I think that that makes a lot more sense versus like just saying, hey, and you can still tell the guys, hey, come bid, this particular job, how much you think it'll be for you. But you already have an idea of what you can pay and what you will not pay. And I think that that's more important. Now, if you get someone that's like, at like 8% or something like that, when it's got to be 12 to 15, you're like, I don't know. This contractor may in the future come back and say, "Hey, man, I need more money," but that's a little bit challenging. So leadership, basically having some basic business background and kind of just intuition when it comes to like human relationships, I think is also important for an entrepreneur, for someone who wants to be a builder and do something like this. So, anyways, guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks so much for everything. I will talk to you soon.